Well, hello out there. This is Stacy Sanderson, and it is now November 19th. And I was racking my brain a little bit trying to think about a theme to choose for this week's YouTube and social media content. And I thought no time like the present than to start talking about and focusing on dealing with difficult people as we approach the holiday season. So, if you're in the US, this will include Thanksgiving. Here in Canada, we have already had Thanksgiving. But anyone who's out and about right now knows that this tends to be a bit of a ramping up time. People are shopping, planning, dreading, depending on your circumstances. And for many of you, this is a very stressful time. Now, this may be because you've had a parent or parents who are toxic or narcissistic, and that brings with it some painful memories. This may be that there is grief around this season. There may be unreasonable expectations that other people put on you, or more commonly, that you put on yourself. There can be issues around balance. If you are separated, divorced, whether this is recent or not, this is going to come with its form of stressors. Maybe spending the first Christmas Eve or the first Christmas Day without your kids. So there are so many different factors that come up. And I am giving a talk later this evening on creating new rituals for people who are needing to also adjust during this holiday time. But the focus for today is going to be what I keep thinking is why the Grinch stole Christmas, but it really is why do narcissists have to be so difficult during the holiday season? Now, there's a spectrum of this, from being mildly annoying to being somewhat covert or passive aggressive to, being frankly violent and abusive to leaving to getting drunk. There's again, there are going to be unique scenarios for everyone as I'm talking about this. But I have heard for many years now about how stressful this time of year can be because of one or two or three people who make it that way. And I did a really popular podcast on this last year, which I can try to post onto the YouTube channel. But all of the traits of narcissism, or the clinical criteria, if you will, but I'd rather focus on traits. There's no need diagnosing anybody here. Offer up the reasons why they can be so difficult during the holiday season, whether it is Christmas or Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, maybe none of the above. Um, I tend to hear this a little bit more from clients around the idea of Christmas, but I think Christmas has the most ridiculousness associated with it. So there's that. But the one that came to mind as I was preparing to speak today is that narcissists have a high need for dominance and control. It is a defense mechanism that helps them from spiraling into the shame vulnerability vortex, right? So we all know what I'm talking about. This is the things they do or don't do that help them to feel like they are in control. So I think a common manifestation of this is, or a common iteration of this is, that they need to host. They like to be the center of attention, but hosting means they're controlling a lot of the experience. They're also the ones that set rigid rules around the holidays, spending, not spending. They may avoid certain things. So, one of the proposed additions to the diagnostic criteria or the nosology of narcissism is including pathological avoidance. And I could not agree more with that idea. So, this refers to ghosting. This refers to not showing up for perhaps a family party or a work party. This refers to not doing the shopping, not getting the things done. Um, I actually think narcissists avoid a lot more than what we maybe typically think or talk about, or we mislabel it perhaps. But avoidance is something else to be on the lookout for. They don't want to do something that they don't want to do. Right. And I know a number of highly narcissistic people where you can invite them to your party, but they're not coming. They're not coming. You can put money on it, right? They're not the center of attention, and that makes them feel really vulnerable. But more to the point, they're also not in control of what's happening. All right. So in looking at those character traits of that high need for dominance and control, that's a really important thing to consider. The other one that I think pops up is if we're referring to a family now or a family system, the high need to show the outside world that everybody's perfect. So there is some level of stress on the narcissistic person, but there's a hell of a lot of stress on everyone else, right? So these are your Uber decorators. These are the people who have to make the perfect meal. These are the people who spend more time taking photos and posting on social media than actually enjoying the event that's going on around them. If this is you, you need to think about this. It's And it is how what is showing on the outside might be very different on the inside of the home where people are frankly, being terrorized by these people. So that's another aspect of this. Now I'm just thinking about other traits. I just wrote about this for the talk I'm going to give, and I was thinking about the narcissistic tendency for their mood to swing from grandiosity to despair. And this could very much be when the picture perfect idealized version of the holiday or the holiday event doesn't match what actually is going on. This can be highly problematic, right? So, this can be the psychosomatic cause of the headache, the stomach ache, the not feeling well, okay? Um, as can the avoidance. So, what you hear me doing is matching up that those general traits with how that's going to show up at Christmas. And there are more, and I'll do another post. But here's the one that probably isn't really well explained by clinical criteria, which is this: narcissists are thieves of joy. They do not always like seeing other people being happy. If I was to really drill down the reasons why some of the narcissistic people I've met don't like me, among many, I would say the main one is I tend to be pretty happy. I can also be like a cynical bitch on wheels, but for the most part, I love my life and I tend to be quite happy. They don't like this. I think there's something about that that's threatening for them. I think that because they don't feel that themselves, it doesn't it feels uncomfortable. Again, there's that vulnerability. I think that they have a real scarcity mindset when it comes to joy in life. Like if you've got it, there isn't any left for them. I think that from a trauma informed standpoint, when they were children, it perhaps was not safe for them to be joyful. This is potentially and does not apply to everyone. This does apply to you if you've had a narcissistic parent. It has not always been safe for you to be joyful. This is also true if you have a narcissistic spouse, right? They do not like to see you happy. It also has to do with empathy and the inability for them to come into a shared felt sense of that experience. So, this means it's really important to take care of your own inner emotional experience and to not get pulled down into their negative energy. Thus, this is one of the reasons why they pick fights, right? I didn't mention that earlier. But, probably that's the most common complaint, right? Like they pick a fight, they leave, they go off, they drink, they do whatever. But it has a lot to do with their intolerance of happiness, joy, people having a good time. If you're not sure about this, figure out a way to observe it in your natural surroundings, right? So, roughly 1 in 5 people is higher than narcissistic traits. So it's not hard to find, but this certainly happens, right? Um, it may or may not be important to you to understand why someone is behaving that way. But I do believe that knowledge is power, and anything that happens to create, sorry, I have an itchy nose, a power equilibrium is a good thing. If you understand what is going on with someone, you can more carefully choose your response. Now, I'm doing a workshop today and will be doing so over the coming weeks. And I will be doing offering some talks about how to set some boundaries and how to take care of yourself. But for the time being, maybe just give some thought to what you've observed in your own life or family situation around this. And I never think to mention this when I come on YouTube because I'm just so focused on sharing the information. But if you're interested in understanding more about this, if you're interested in talking about what a recovery process looks like, what steps to reclaiming your own joy and personal power look like, how to thrive post a narcissistic relationship, how to find your authenticity. That's my jam, right? This is the work I'm doing. And all of that work inspires how I show up here. And I think now more than ever, it's important to bring this topic out into the forefront and for people who've been perhaps maligned or hurt to, I hate the word heal, but to get stronger, right? Healing is a word all of you can say. I really shouldn't. So let me know if you'd like to talk more about that. DM me, go to my website, stacysanderson.ca. and learn more about the variety of services on offer and ways we can work together to get you there. Maybe no time like the present. So please like, share, subscribe, joining the conversation, ask me questions, DM me any kind of topics you'd like me to focus on. And over the coming weeks, we're going to be ideally building toward a more meaningful, authentic holiday time. Thank you so much for listening and take good care.